Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Shilpa Data Insights. In today's session, we will go ahead and discuss about Delta Life Table. So what will be the agenda for today that we will have in this particular video? So first I will go ahead and explain you what is a Mendelian architecture. This is very important to know before you deep dive into the Delta Life Table. Then we will discuss about the ETL, complexity of the ETL that we have. Then we will discuss about the Delta Life Table and introduction to it and their core components, how you can write your Delta Life Table notebooks and what is a Delta pipeline and how to exactly monitor the Delta Life Tables. And then at last, we will also see the hands-on and do some practicals on the Delta Life Table. So stay tuned till the end related to the Delta Life Table, how to use it and all these agendas that we will be covering today. So let's go ahead with the Mendelian architecture. What is a Mendelian architecture? Mendelian architecture is nothing but it's a architecture, you can say a data design pattern that is used to logically organize the data into a lake house. And it has the ability to incrementally progress the data into the target tables. It will help you in improving the structure and the quality of data as it flows through each layer. So Mendelian architecture has basically three layers. One is the bronze, second is the silver, and the third is the gold. I'll explain you what exactly these bronze, silver, and gold layer refer to. But why Mendelian architecture? So Mendelian architecture provides some ACID properties. So the ACID transaction is true in case of Mendelian architecture. If you know about some legacy system, you would be knowing what is an ACID transaction, right? So that is true for the Mendelian architecture. Then it comes with a schema enforcement. If in case the schema gets changing, then you can go ahead and do a schema enforcement on the tables. Then it is also compatible with BI tools. Then the storage and the computing is not the same. Storage is different and computing is different. So it means it's actually decoupled. There are different data types that Mendelian architecture goes ahead and support. For example, it will support your CSV file, Parquet file, ORC file, and text files, and there are many more. Then it can actually integrate and handle your versatile workloads. Means if you have workloads which is less, which is more, everything it can go ahead and handle it. Then it comes with the real-time streaming. Means it can handle the real-time streaming very efficiently. So therefore, Mendelian architecture is very much benefited as compared to the legacy architecture where you don't have all these particular functionalities or benefits. So let's deep dive into the architecture of Mendelian, that is our bronze, silver and gold. How does it exactly look like? So once your data is coming from different sources, let's say it's coming from your SAP, it is coming from a website, it's coming from a streaming data set. These data are actually stored into one layer that is called bronze layer. So it means all the raw data is actually stored into the bronze layer. That is called your landing zone for the raw data. There is no schema needed in. Let's say you have a text file, you can just store that text file into your bronze layer. You have a CSV file, you can store that. You have a Parquet file, you can store that. Any kind of raw data can be stored in the bronze layer. Then comes our silver layer. When the data flows from raw layer to the silver layer, then there are some filtration, cleaning of the data that we need. Some schemas are enforced. The structure is given to the data. So that thing is done in the silver layer. Then comes the gold layer. In the gold layer, basically, it's all the aggregations, grouping, and all are done as per the business use case. So you can go ahead and deliver the updated data, or you can say clean data, to the downstream users. That is, it can be used in BI or ML, this particular cleaned and aggregated data. So as you have seen, as the data flows from raw layer till the gold layer, the data is improved in the quality. So in the landing zone, that is your bronze layer, all the data is raw. There is no schema. Then the schema is given and filtered and then aggregated, and then the actual data aggregated or clean data that is being used by ML or BI team. So this is very important to have different layers. This is what is called the layers of Mendelian architecture. Let's go with the complexity of ETL. Let's say we only have three layers, right? Bronze, silver, and gold. Then what was the requirement of basically this complexity? It is not only that the data is just getting stored in the bronze layer. There are different data sources. The data source could be a data lake, could be Kinesis, could be SAP, could be a SQL server, could be Spark, could be Kafka, anything. All these data sources are actually pulling the data, then it needs to be stored. So therefore we have one layer and it can have multiples of table, right? Any multiple table it can have. So once the table is there, then you do some joinings and all to go ahead also clean the data after you giving the schema. So in the silver layer, the table which are there in the raw, it gets doubled or you can say triple. It can be many, right? So it is like one to many tables comes into place in the silver layer. Then from the silver layer, all the aggregations are done and all kind of joinings from different table from wherever dimension and fact tables are joined to get your aggregated data, which is then again used for your analytics purpose or reporting purpose, creating your dashboard or by the ML team. So basically there are so many tables involved. So there is a complexity of the ETL process. So you need to handle this data very efficiently. There could be a scenario where the data is failing from, let's say, bronze to silver because the schema is not proper, or from silver to gold. So you need to handle those data failures as well. So this is a complexity of the ETL. Let's move on to basically why exactly the delta life table is coming. What is the complexity which actually trigger the delta life tables? So whenever there is a error, right, you need to handle those error, and the recovery process is actually very tedious. Why? Because there's so many dependencies between the table. So you need to figure out where exactly there is a problem and where exactly the error is coming up, in which table it's coming up, and then you are actually doing it. Then comes our data quality. If in case your data is not proper, the schemas are not enforced, and some constraints are not put properly, then the data quality is poor and it may fail at any point of time. So you need to handle that process as well manually. Once you have your data into place into your tables, you also need to track down the lineage from where the data is coming, what is the source of that particular table, and where exactly the data is going, what is the downstream of that particular data. So the data lineage cannot be traced so easily. It's a very important step, but it's very difficult to handle the data lineage as well. You need to also observe the batch and streaming level of data. So when you have a data that's coming, that could be a batch and streaming. So you need to go ahead and do a data observability in that case. And it's also difficult to account and unify your batch and streaming pipeline in the same pipeline. So in this diagram, if you will see, you have written your code, basically creating your tables on the top of your Delta Lake and all. But the challenge comes where there are multiple tables and those tables needs to be updated in the right order. So for that, you need to have a dependency management, and how you can get that dependency management with the help of your data lineage, right? So in that case, it's very important to get your data lineage. And if in case there's any failure or you are not able to handle your data properly, then in that case, how you can manage it? You need to go ahead and partition your data, and all the data is not processed only. The only small part that is being processed. So that is important for your data partitioning and computation. If in case there's any failure, you need to have some checkpointing and also the retry mechanism in that case. Once the data is there, then you also have to think about the backfilling of the data. All your data is actually not stored, right? So if in case there's some change, you need to backfill the data. So for that also you need to handle it. Then comes with the quality check, as I was explaining before. If the data quality is poor, then it actually not useful for the BI teams or the ML teams. So there should be a data quality check for it. The bad data ones should not be there. So I don't want to use those bad data in my downstream data, which is being used by other teams. So it's very important for the quality check. Then comes with the governance. Governance means you have your sensitive data. You don't want everyone to view your sensitive data. So you should be able to put a permission kind of a setting so that those data is not being viewed by everyone. And data discoverability means you need to have that data set to the right people who need it. So the data discovery is also important. On the top of it, you have a large team, you need to have co-workers, so the version control is also very important to have it. Along with it, as the data increases, the deployment infrastructure also increases. So you need to also manage your cluster. You need to go ahead and create your cluster based on your DBR units. So all these things is very time consuming. Time to maintain the tool is actually dominating it, all your actual code that you are writing, as it is complex. So you are not actually focusing on getting the value out of the data, but you are investing a lot of time in managing these things. So therefore, the delta life table comes into place. So instead of focusing the infrastructure, you write your declarative queries and focus on that. So all these things are actually handled by DLT. So you just write your query, everything else is being handled by Databricks. So what is a DLT? DLT is a declarative ETL framework that helps you building your pipeline cost effectively. So you simply have to define the transformations to perform on your data and let the DLT pipelines automatically manage your orchestration, cluster management, monitoring of the data, and the data quality along with the error handling. So all this continuous batch and streaming process, error handling, data pipeline, automatic deployments, and orchestrations are actually handled by the DLT as the data flows from bronze till the code layer. So, what is a declarative programming? As we have talked about the declarative programming and so many times. So, declarative programming is nothing but you just have to tell the program what should be done. You don't have to tell how to do it. In procedural programming, if you have written, right, it's basically you are defining how to do it. Let's take a small example. You want to calculate the sum of the numbers which are present in a list, right? So you have to iterate it through each number and sum it up and then give you the print statement to give the sum of all the numbers. But in declarative, what you do is you just say that I need the sum of these numbers. So what the query optimizer will do, it will figure out how to do it in the most efficient way. If in case the data changes, it actually goes ahead and handle that in a very efficient way. Now, what are the core components of the delta life table? One is streaming tables and second is materialized view. Streaming tables is nothing but it's a delta table on the top of which you are writing your stream data. It is used in your ingestion purpose from a source to a target, or it is also used when the scale of data is huge, then the streaming tables come into place. And also you need to manage your low latency transformation. What is a materialized view? Materialized view is nothing but you are querying the data on a table and you are getting the result out of the query. Those results are basically stored in a delta table. So those are materialized tables. So result of a query is actually stored in a materialized view. It is used for you transforming the data, or you are building an aggregated table, or you are speeding up the BI queries and reports. For that, you will be needing the materialized view. It's very important to have a materialized view. Basically, if you have an SLA, to have your queries and dashboards, reports on the top of a particular data set. Then comes with the Delta Life tables. Let's focus on what is the feature or what are the capabilities of Delta Life table it can have. First is you can create your Delta Life table with the Databricks SQL query or using your Python query. You also have the ability to refresh your query to process the latest data. In case of Python, you have your DLT.table decorator to create your Delta Life table. And the expectations are also present. The constraints are expectations so that you don't get any bad record. You can track your bad record. If in case you are getting any bad record, then you can drop those record or you can abort the processing for a single bad record. So it's basically the expectations are to test and ensure the data quality, which is actually in the process of Boolean expression. So the result is a Boolean expression that you will get, and you can track your bad records. There are decorators available in data quality expectation, like you can expect it, you can get your bad record, you can make the pipeline fail, or you can drop the bad records. Then comes with the Delta pipelines. So you can create your Delta pipeline either with the help of a SQL notebook or a Python notebook. You can also mention your environment configurations to accelerate the development. And the DLT actually infers the dependencies between the tables. You can manage the Delta pipeline as well. You can schedule your pipeline. You can monitor your pipeline. You can also auto scale the cluster, and you can create a complete workflow from the Delta pipeline. So this is the feature of the Delta pipeline that you will be getting with the help of the DLT. So now let's see in the practicals how you can create your DLT tables and the complete pipeline. So I've created a sample DLT pipeline notebook here. So first of all, I will be creating the first table called customer. Okay, let me first show you what exactly we are building so that you have an idea about it. And then I will go with the notebook, how exactly the notebook looks like. So this is my pipeline basically. In this pipeline, you will have the first table called customer, second table called sales order, third is the clean data, which is our silver layer, and then we have the materialized view on the top of that clean data with some aggregations. So the first layer that you see here, customer and sales order raw, is my bronze layer. Then we have the streaming order, which is my silver layer, and then we have the gold layer in which we have the data. So now let's see how you can create this customer table, how you can create this sales order raw. Then we will see what kind of cleaning we are doing and the materialized view. Let's go back. So the first table is our customers table. Let me just increase the font of this so that it's visually appealing. So you have create streaming live table. So you have to add this keyword called streaming live table to go ahead and create your live tables, DLT tables. So create streaming live table, your table name. You can put some comment. I've given this comment because this is your customer buying finished product, which is ingested from the Databricks dataset. Databricks dataset is a dataset that the Databricks provides so that you can play around and you can learn out the things. So I'm using that, the Databricks datasets for you. Then you can mention the table properties. Table properties can be anything. I'm just using that it's a mapping quality. So I have given it as mapping. Then this is similar to your CTAS statement. If you will see, it's called create table, table name as select star from this, right? So this is a CTAS statement. Only thing that you need to remember, you need to add your streaming live table. And then you are selecting it from this cloud files. This cloud files means auto loader. Okay, so you are getting your data from this particular data set using the autoloader. So autoloader, if you don't know what it is, it's actually a streaming tool in which you can get the data. So I have covered that autoloader in my different session. You can go ahead and watch that. I'll pin it in the I button as well so that you know what exactly is the autoloader. So you have to mention what is your path of your file and what type of file you are actually loading into your table. Similarly, I will be creating a second table called sales order raw. In this sales order raw, I'm going ahead and creating one table from the cloud files, that is the sales order, which is a JSON file. And this is my basically the bronze layer. I'm giving that this is actually my bronze layer. Then the third table that I'm creating, that is my silver layer. Okay, this is my silver layer table. This table name is called sales order cleaned. And I'm providing some constraint. What is that constraint? As we don't want any order number which is null. I want to drop any order number which is null from my data set. So that is my expectation from my streaming table called sales order clean. So what I will do is in the SQL, what you write is you put your constraint, you put your valid order number, and you do an expect and order number is not null. On violation, I am dropping the row and I'm having this particular table partitioned by order date. And I am doing some transformation and getting my order date time and my order date with some other columns and joining it with my order raw, sales order raw, and my customer table. So when you are actually reading a live table, you need to go ahead and have a keyword for live. Okay, and then it can go ahead and read your live table. So if you will see, this is my streaming live table, right? This is my streaming live table. So I'm mentioning here the live table name. So I have to mention this particular table name. Now, after my silver layer is ready, I will be going ahead and I will be using my gold layer. In the gold layer, I'm creating one more table, which is not a streaming, but it's just a delta live table, which is this. In this table, I have your sales orders in LA. So I'm selecting all my sales order. That is, I'm calculating my price, all the sum of my price and the quantity and the count from the particular table, that is sales order clean table. So this is my sales order clean table, which is again my delta live table. So I have to append the live keyword here. So if you will see, this is my delta live table, which is my orders clean table. Now, and I'm grouping it by this. So once I have this, I'm creating another table called my Chicago table. What are the sales order in the Chicago table? Similarly, with the help of my order clean table. Okay, so this is how it exactly looks like. Now, if you go ahead, you need to go ahead and run this. You cannot run the notebook directly. What you need to do is you need to go ahead and create a pipeline. So how you can create your pipeline? You just go to your Delta Live tables, you click on this create pipeline. In this pipeline, you mention your pipeline name, what pipeline name you want, what is the product edition. Pipeline mode means triggered or continuous. If you want to trigger it once and then stop the cluster, you can put it triggered. If not, you can put it as a continuous method. Then you put your source code path. What is the path of your source? And it is in Hive Metastore. Right now, Unity Catalog is preview, so I'm not demonstrating this one. So basically, you need to provide what is your storage location in your Hive Metastore and what is your target schema, means what is the schema where you want to go ahead and put your target data. and what compute is there. If there is any cluster policy, you can go ahead and give your cluster policy into it and your cluster mode. That is your whether you need an option called enhance auto scaling, or you want a legacy auto scaling, or you want a fixed size. So I've done an enhanced auto scaling with a minimum workers of 1 and maximum worker of 5. You can also use photon acceleration in that case, because in this photon acceleration, with the help of the Apache Spark workload, it will help you reducing your total cost per workload. So this helps in the photon acceleration. Then you can add some notification, means you can put your email address if in case there's any failure or there's any success, or in case of a flow, you can go ahead and put your email. You can also put multiple email addresses. Then comes with the advanced settings. You can add your configuration file, as I was saying, the environment configuration file here. And the channel is current right now. So I'm using the current one only, not the preview one. Is the version of the Delta table runtime that is being used, right? The DBR. Then you have the instant type, what type of worker type you want. You can select it as per your requirement. Like let's say if in case it's memory intensive or it's actually your storage intensive, then the driver type, you can select it as your worker as well, or you can select it manually. So this is how you create your DLT pipeline. Once you create it, it will show you something like this. You will have your development, you will have your production. Means if you are using the development, it will just cluster will turn and it will not re-trigger it again and again. Okay, so it will help you in not retrying the process. So I'm doing it in the development, so it is the development here. You can do the settings. If you click on the settings, the same page of creating the pipeline will come up. You can also schedule it. You can start the process as well. So here what I have done is I can go ahead, click on full refresh or validate or start, right? So let me click on start. If my cluster is on, then it will start the process. So what it will do is it will go ahead and first wait for the resources, what are the compute resources that you have, and then it will initialize and set up all the tables and render the graph. The graph that I showed you, it will actually show you that particular graph, and you can also view your logs from here. So this will take some time. Once it's completed, I will come back and I will show you exactly how it looks like. So now you see it has completed my table refresh. Now this is the customer table and this is my sales order raw table. So it has completed in how much time. It says 5 seconds and 4 seconds. All this green is there. Now if I go to the right, you will see the customer table is there with the flow. It says the flow ID, which is an incremental. It will show you what is the schema that we have used for the customer table. Similarly, what is the schema that we have for our sales order raw table. Okay, then these two are actually combined and cleaned, and we are getting the streaming table. So in this there is a data quality check. If you will see, it has says it has written all my data without any dropped rows, without any failed rows. Okay, it says what are the percentage that it has dropped, because I have given a constant called valid order number. If there was any record which has order number null, it would have dropped that particular row, but it says all my data was good. Okay, and it shows me the schema of this particular thing is there. Then comes the sales order, which is in Chicago. It gives me this, and here also it has written the 100%, all the 99 records without any dropped rows. And in the sales order LA, you see it has 100% of records are written without any failure. And what is the schema of it? It says, and what is the flow of this? Okay, how much time it completes. So this is the complete thing. You can also see it in the list format, or like how much time each one took. It will give you in this. And what is my streaming data set and what is my materialist data set. So it shows me in that format as well. If you want to filter out some data set, you can also select the has error, what is the status of it, and type. So this is how you can visualize your complete data set, and you can select the tables as well that you want to refresh. You don't have to run the whole pipeline, but you can also select the table that you want to refresh. Okay, so this is how exactly is my complete flow looks like. So this comes under your workflow, under your Delta Life table. So you don't have to basically worry about the error handling, worry about the dependency management, because it shows you the complete graph of it. If you create your workflow, then you need to actually go through each dependency of it and do it manually. But in this case, we just defined the table, we did some aggregation, and the complete lineage is tracked down and the data comes to the gold layer. So this is very important that you don't have to take a headache of your error handling or the data quality check, which is very important. So I've shown you how to do it in the SQL. If you want to tell you also how to do it in Python code, please leave a comment in the comment section. I will create a video on the Python Delta Life tables as well, how you can write the code in the Python code. So that is very simple, so I can make a video if you guys would like me to make a video on the top of this. And if you have understood what is a Delta Life table, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends, because this is a very new feature that most people are not aware who are using the Databricks. Or if you are learning Databricks, then also this will be very important for you in future, how to actually create your Delta Life table and handle it. So Databricks is continuously progressing and it is enhancing its features and all. So there will be much more features that will be incorporated to this. If in case there's any enhancement, I will be creating a new video on the top of it. You can also watch that. And don't forget to watch Autoloader as well, because Autoloader is a very important concept that I have created in another video. So stay tuned for this complete playlist. Go ahead and watch everything I have gone in depth and explained you guys from start how to use your Databricks, create your Databricks account till this Delta Life table. So this playlist is going to help you a lot. So stay tuned for this and like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you have a good day.